Stay sweaty, my friends.
Stay sweaty. And don't be afraid to sweat, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's some pussy shit. You want to sweat. Especially when you're at the gym. You want to have that back sweat going.
Shows you're putting in the work.
You're working hard. This is episode 24, I think. I believe. I don't know.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, because I record them and then I lose track because I don't upload them.
Fair enough.
Shout out to our sponsors. Pop-Up Podcasting. Ottawa's pristine podcast studio. You guys look so excited about that.
That's
appreciate
awesome.
that. It's really makeshift.
True.
Because I work there.
Yeah.
So but I say it to sound professional.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
True.
It's kind of like a perspective thing. Okay. So anyway, I'm Evan Stolpmann. I never introduced myself. A terrible idea. I'm Evan Stolpmann. We got two special guests. The one in front of me, you may have heard of him before from our, what was the episode called?
Homeless Lives Matter.
Homeless Lives Matter. That's one of the most popular ones on SoundCloud.
No way.
Yeah, it's got like 300 downloads or something.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty dope.
Wow.
Pretty dope. So Troy's back.
Hello.
You want to reintroduce yourself?
I'm Troy. I am man.
I am man.
No, like
that a new pronoun.
Yeah, no, I'm just a pal of Evan here. I've known him for 2 years now, 2.5 years, going on 3, something like that.
Introduce yourself, sir.
Cullen Jacobs.
Cullen Jacobs. You went with your fucking
Slave name.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, I didn't want to say it.
Mistake number
Glad
one.
it came from you.
Yeah. Well, Lohahio is my Mohawk name, so that's what I go. That's usually what I go by. But when I'm at work, not everyone can say Lohahio, so hi, I'm Cullen Jacobs. You gotta change it, right?
Yeah, I'm guessing there's a lot of white people listening right now. So explain the Mohawk and slave name thing.
So, like, being a native, like, outside of res, you get like a Mohawk name, you get an English name, right? Not everybody has Mohawk and English names. It's just.
But you have to get like an English name, don't you?
No, you do not.
No.
You
don't have to?
Yeah, it's something that.
Then why?
You don't even have to have a last name as a native.
You don't have to?
You don't have
to. But what about identification?
It just says
McLovin?
Yeah, you lose legit McLovin.
McLovin. No fucking last name?
Well, to my knowledge, that's actually what they put as NLN, no last name.
Oh, true.
And in place of a last name.
And that's what they put on your quote unquote government ID?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it does affect a lot of things. Like,
like not having a last name?
Yeah, like it makes it harder for them to get IDs, get credit cards, because you need that first and last name. You can't just put one name that whatever you're trying to buy.
Especially in fucking white America, you're applying for a job at a gas station, and they're like, "This guy's got one name."
He's like Beyonce or some shit.
I'm gonna call up John Smith before I call up this kid with one name, right? The name tag's not even gonna be big enough to have this fucking guy's name. Okay, so go on. So, the Mohawk. So you grew up in Akwesasne with Troy.
Yeah.
Troy, I don't know, on the last podcast, did we really get into it? I don't even know if we really got into it.
I think we kind of brushed over it very easily. Like, just the general shit of, like, locality and yada, yada, yada.
It's just, it's different. Because I never understood the culture until I met you guys. That's when my mind opened, bro. That's when I got connected to my third eye. Indian
rubber ball.
Oh, called out for my racial slur. Bro, that's what we called it. In a white man's house, that's what you call it.
Yeah, and I'd never heard that called before, and it like triggered me. I don't know.
Yeah,
it was
so like what?
Funny, man. Do you listen to Joe Rogan?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Every single time they say Indian, like it's always Indian.
Yeah.
And it's like it's so strange. I guess it's not the same culture, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. What is it like over on the other side of the border?
Ignorant.
Yeah.
Like, is it noticeably different?
In all honesty, I feel like I haven't had nearly enough exposure on my own stateside as opposed to here. Like here, you know, I'm kind of striking it out on my own experience in like Canadian culture, whereas in the States I was always kind of sheltered with family and shit. So it's, I don't know, as opposed to just like the language, I don't know if it's out of like a place of like facetiousness, you know, just kind of trying to be shitty, or if it's just them being undereducated about it, you know.
They just still think that Christopher Columbus landed on India.
Yeah.
Idiots.
Exactly,
Idiots.
right?
Well, like, think about the education system, man. That's all the textbooks. It's mostly still
Did
Indian
you
and
see
shit.
that headline? Like the teachers, I don't know what state it was, but the teachers are walking out because like they can't pay for, or the school's not paying for new textbooks, and like they're falling apart, and there's like broken chairs and shit.
No, man.
Like teachers are like, I have to go into my pocket to pay for this school's curriculum. So there is like this, I don't know where it is. It's
So
in Kentucky or
unfortunate.
something. But so growing up with you guys, do you guys know each other forever?
Yeah, man. Fucking grew up together, basically.
But you guys grew up on opposite sides. So explain Akwesasne to people, because it's pretty interesting. It geographically, it's pretty it's
unique
pretty
in some
unique
ways, yeah.
in the grand scheme of things in the world. So explain Akwesasne and location wise and.
So Akwesasne is a jurisdictional nightmare. It splits up 2 countries, 1 state, 2 provinces. So and then it's like it splits up right in the middle. So like a portion of it's in Ontario, then you cut it off, and probably like 2 miles down, you're in Quebec. There's a whole Quebec portion that live in, you know, the area. And
Is
then
it technically Quebec?
it's technically Quebec, like you're in Quebec,
But you're still in Akwesasne, right?
but you're still in Akwesasne.
So strange, man.
And then you got, you know, New York State, which is the U.S., and that's a whole like that's probably the biggest piece of the landmass that altogether.
Definitely.
It's just it's split up all in this little area, and it all meets in the middle of the river, where they all touch. And
That's got to be metaphorical for something, right?
Metaphorical for fucking ridiculous. But like, no, like, just to expand on what he said, like, despite all that, we're even split up further. Like, even just on the states portion, we have different counties,
So
different legislation.
pull it back too.
Oh, there
So
we
you
go.
don't have
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like, there's different counties. So we have Franklin, St. Lawrence County that also kind of play a part into kind of splitting up, like, just our U.S. portion, if you will. And we have all different governments within to kind of help.
See, that's
keep
where
us
it just
together,
gets
and it's
so
just,
confusing. It's like if
Oh,
so it's a reserve, right? So, and you guys talk about how you have your own chief, sort of like. Is it technically a police chief, quote unquote?
so there's a lot of chiefs. There's
Yeah.
there's 5 or there's 3 per district. There's 3 districts for the Canadian side.
Yeah.
And then there's, on the American side, there's a single chief, or there's 3 chiefs, 3 sub chiefs, and then those they control the American side, which is known as the tribe.
Yeah.
And then Canadian side is known as MCA.
Mm-hmm.
And then we do have a police chief. We have our own police, you know, station and district, and so that.
So if you're on the Ontario side, is the OPP riding around?
No,
no.
we have our own police.
So they're not even allowed. That's not their
No.
place of business.
Yeah. They do work in collaboration at times, but
Yeah.
for the most part, we're pretty in-house when it comes to
when
that
there's
stuff.
like special investigations
yeah.
and shit, right?
Yeah.
Like when you have to get the fucking white man in there.
The big guns.
Yeah, the big guns.
Yeah.
We'll roll up in the fucking tanks. So, you guys grew up on different sides of the border. You grew up Canadian, and you grew up grew up American. You grew up Canadian.
Yeah.
Yeah, weird.
It is.
He seems more American than you. To be totally honest.
What does
That's
that
a
mean?
sneak
What's that
diss.
say about
That's
your
a
character?
sneak diss, bro.
I adapted, right?
But yeah, no, it's crazy, man.
So what's the difference? What was growing up? What were the things that kind of like set you guys apart? That were what you obviously had a lot in common, but what were the things that made you guys different?
Troy wanted to be Canadian.
Did he? Of course, man. You have to. when you live on the American side and you get a little taste of the Canadian side, you're like, oh yeah,
Ooh, that nectar's just too sweet. You just can't
there's
stay
something in
away.
the water, bro. I swear to God. So you wanted to be Canadian?
I don't know. It's chiller on this side.
It is?
Yeah, I find.
Like in what way?
I don't know. People are nicer. Like 20% less assholes.
Yeah, you think so? That's real?
Approximately.
I've only been to Florida.
That's a number. He put a number in there. See that 20%?
Approximately, though. Disclaimer.
It's all facts on here now.
Yeah.
I've only been to Florida. That's
True.
the only. Actually, I've been to Buffalo too.
Oh yeah.
So sketchy.
Oh yeah.
You drive through Niagara Falls and you're like on the nice Canadian side. There's flowers and shit, and then you like drive just over one bridge and like broken glass.
There's
and,
an obvious line in Niagara Falls where
wild
it like transitions from like
yeah.
beautiful to just what happened. And then there's a giant, real nice casino right in the middle of all of the American side. You never see that? It's like the biggest thing there. It's
Just sucking up all the money.
but it's real nice though, right? And it's the only thing that really people have to do there is that one casino on the American side.
That's what people go to Niagara Falls for, though, right? They go to gamble because there's one on the Canadian side too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But that's what taxes does for you, all right?
True.
Communism.
It's a conspiracy.
So you're saying there wasn't much difference between you two? Like, how did you guys get together? Like, how did you ever meet?
So we went to the same, what would you call that? Like elementary school, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like from pre-K to grade 8, we went to the same school.
See, I feel like that's hard to wrap your head around because you guys grew up on either side of the border. But I guess and this is where it kind of boggles my mind. It's not really, you guys really aren't American or Canadian, right? Like you're Mohawk within that territory, but those lines still exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like imaginary lines that somehow separate us. But it's not a distance to get from one side to the other. Like it only takes me 15 to 20 minutes to drive to right near where Troy lives.
Just across the border.
Just across the border. And doing it every day to go to work or to just go, me living on the island where there's 3 districts. There's Cornwall Island, St. Regis, and then there's Akwesasne. And I live on Cornwall Island. That's an actual island. And for me to get to Cornwall, I have to cross the Canadian border to go to Cornwall.
And do you have to go through like customs?
Yeah, to go through customs every
You
single
have
time.
to go through customs even through the going out of the reserve, or like actually going through the border that cuts the reserve in half.
No, there's 2 bridges on the island. Every time I cross the bridge, I have to go through a customs and report what I.
Oh, true.
believe.
Once you get off the island,
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, true.
So every single time I leave the island, I go through a border, and then go to Canada or America, I have to go through a border.
Yeah.
And it's just an extra like 5-minute drive because it literally leaves the res all of 10 seconds when you go across the border. So.
And luckily, it only affects the difference between New York State residents and Ontario residents. Like time ago, we used to have more borders that would go with like the Quebec portions, but it was just so absurd they fucking scrapped it.
You're
so
like, holy shit!
yeah, it's ridiculous.
Because like 1,000 roads that go across the border.
Yeah.
Why try to man them all,
Yeah.
right?
Like every single one has fucking armed guards and shit.
Yeah, but not only that, it's like to get to those portions, you need either to get through New York State to get to there or by boat. Like there was no other alternative.
So you'd have to go through Ontario to New York State and then to Quebec?
Yes.
Yeah, to get to anywhere to go back
bro.
on the res. Yeah,
See,
you have to go through New York State.
It's a nightmare.
That's crazy. So what other place in the world is like that?
I couldn't name any offhand. I've
Like-
definitely heard something similar in the past.
Is there any other like reses that cut through, like that are on the border between Canada and the U.S. across the line? Like
Not like ours.
No?
Not separated by so many districts and so many jurisdictions like ours does.
it's separated by a river?
Yeah, and separated by a river.
Geographical barriers, imaginary barriers. Shit, man. It's crazy.
So trippy. Well, I've heard many countless stories of why it's so unique, or of how it's so unique, and the struggles that come with that sort of territory being. Would you guys say it's less patrolled than other borders?
No, It's way more patrolled than
It's
other
way
borders.
more
Yes.
patrolled. Then you guys have talked to me about all the smuggling that happens across it. So how does that happen when it's way more patrolled?
It wasn't always way more patrolled. That's why.
Oh, they caught on.
That's why. That's why all that
Yeah.
happened, right?
True.
Because it was so under patrolled, manned, and also like us being a res, it would filter through there, and it was like it's like a black hole for money. So when the government can't see where their money's going and can't tax it and can't use it, they're gonna really bite down on that area.
They're gonna lay down the.
They're gonna lay down. They're gonna lay down the law, right?
Yeah.
So that's what happened, and now it's like it's extremely manned. It's extremely like powered, and there's a lot of resources being put to stopping it, or it has stopped. Like from
So when did that start?
Fairly recently, and that's the
Yeah?
funny thing about it is, like, historically speaking, we had done a lot of business with like mafia and shit like that way back.
That's
you know, like
dope,
20s,
bro.
30s, 40s.
Sick, dude. You and
So-
Al Capone, like your ancestors,
Yeah.
Al Capone.
Yeah, man.
legit, he did business around.
No way.
Akwesasne.
Yeah, man.
yeah, he
Like
had-
smuggling?
yeah,
Like from where? From
from
Canada?
New York State to Canada.
to Canada?
Yeah,
Rum running, all that type of stuff.
Did
because it was alcohol back then, right?
okay? So
Under
during
Prohibition.
what
Prohibition.
Prohibition? Thank you. During Prohibition, was it illegal both in Canada and the U.S. at the same time?
I'm honestly not too sure.
I know, me neither. No,
I'm not sure if it was legal in Canada, but I don't think Canadians really made. Did they make? I don't know.
I guess
I'm not knowledgeable enough in
Yeah,
this.
no, that's
Yeah.
true. But I guess the Canadians were way less settled, maybe, than the
Yeah.
Americans, right? Because they ended up moving north, more north as time went on.
For sure.
That's interesting. So you and you had your chieftain sitting talking with Al Capone back in the day.
Well, we don't know if it was a chief.
Yeah,
Let's not dox him.
Just discredit that. Our leaders are crooks. All Cheyennes.
You gotta do what you gotta do, right?
Yeah, that
there's
is true.
There's a certain extent where it's like if you're getting sucked dry by a bigger power, it's like you gotta figure out how to build your community, and you need resources to build your community.
Adapt or die, baby.
Yeah, well, it's just crazy because you guys have told me so many smuggling stories, and when you tell these stories, I picture like I've like literally photographic memory of the stories of you guys just telling me that there's like just $1 million houses along these like dusty old dirt roads and shit. I'm like, I can just see it just filled with fucking nicotine and dope.
We're not very modest, I guess.
Yeah,
we
like-
weren't taught modesty.
But why is that?
Why is...
There's just like a rush of like this is here, this is happening.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
People jumped on, people made money, and then couldn't sustain it. Right? It wasn't a forever thing. It wasn't. You couldn't make a career out of it. It was just something that happened, and you couldn't continue it. It was gonna come to a stop. You were either gonna get caught, you were gonna get arrested, thrown in jail, or you were gonna be, it was gonna stop. They were gonna put a stop to it, and they're gonna make it harder. And that's what they did, right? And now,
And just the scope of it has changed also, going back to that. Like, maybe, I don't know, what would you say, like 80s, around that time period, 80s, 70s, instead of jail time, for the most part, from my understanding, our people would get their asses kicked on an island by like RCMP, and they're like, don't do that shit again.
It changed from like, hey, we caught you with a whole bunch of whatever's in the boat.
Yeah,
We're gonna take you to an island,
So
kick the shit out of you, and we're gonna leave you there. You know what I mean?
That's the shit.
No, I don't know what they did with it.
They probably took the
Probably.
shit.
Probably
They
took it,
Probably took it
Yeah.
and sold it themselves.
finished it,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
but like you never know, right? Because we don't no one writ that down.
That's true.
It's only passed down through hearsay, so you don't actually know what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And the Canadian government or the United States government definitely didn't write it down either.
Exactly,
Mm-mm.
right? They're not-
They might have little notes if you find some.
Pretty incriminating shit.
Yeah.
and like,
Yeah,
and like
you
even
definitely-
that, the person who just got their ass kicked, they can be like, oh shit, they caught me slipping, you
Yeah.
know?
Better luck next time.
Yeah, like fucking, you're gonna be like, oh, I was on the island and
So how
got
did
my
they,
ass kicked.
how did they? So when was it? When was like the smuggling like at its highest point?
I mean, like the 90s. Like,
the 90s? Like
from
growing up in your era.
From like 85 to like 95 when it was like booming, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's when everything was like, that's when, you know, they were running everything to, you know, everything went to Montreal. Everything went that way.
What was it? It was mostly nicotine, right?
Mostly cigarettes was the...
See, that's what's crazy. I don't think people would think that. People are like, oh, cocaine and all this Colombian, like whatever dramatic shit. But it's the darts.
Yeah, it's the darts. Right? It's a non-taxed darts, and then they would sell them non-taxed.
Sorry to interrupt. I remember going to a reserve back in Muskoka, and I just get a carton of Pall Mall, and it'd be like $25.
Oh, it's so cheap,
bro. I just saved like $80 on like 10 packs of darts, my dude.
But yeah, and then they're also like super cheap though, right? And it's also, the cigarette is also super cheap. You know what I mean? They ain't quality cigarettes.
Yeah.
Like,
and the reason why they could smuggle that was because they were just avoiding the Canadian tax, right?
Yeah.
That they had on the nicotine.
Yeah, and also it goes into more, if on the radical side, we have a lot of people who really hold it true to their heart that it's not smuggling, it's a free trade between our territory and other territories of tobacco, because we do have that ability to an extent, but and then it's muddied waters in a lot of ways,
which totally makes sense. Though exactly. It's like that because that you guys grew that originally, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like it totally makes sense, especially if you're talking about Akwesasne being a sovereign nation apart from Canada and apart from the U.S.
Yeah.
And then governments stepping in like they always do, those bastards.
Yeah, they don't get their cut, so they're
I don't
upset.
like communism anymore.
it's just like that. It all leads to money, right? If they're not getting their money, they're gonna hunt you down.
So how did they crack down?
Mandatory minimums was a big one.
Yeah, mandatory minimums. They started throwing people in jail for a really long time for very little offenses. You know, like
scary
one-time offenses, first-time offenses, where people were being thrown in jail, and there's just people saw the effect, and people were like, "No, we're gonna smarten up now." You know what I mean? We can't. This is stopping. We have to start changing. Not everyone did. A lot of people kept going, but also, you know, it split, and people just
they tightened the leash.
Yeah, they tightened the leash, and it lessened it by like a lot. So.
Yeah. So what was the other, like, besides like the free trade, like you said, what was the other where else was resources coming? Where else were resources coming in to Akwesasne? Like, how were you guys getting resources besides because I know that was a big part of the economy, right? Mm-hmm. So what else? I know you've told me multiple times because I definitely asked you that question, but refresh me. So
it all depended on the time we were living in. So maybe in our grandparents' era when they were kids, it was a lot of we always had the migrant workers. That was our thing. I just learned that recently that we would not only, like I've mentioned before, we have a lot of like iron workers going to cities and building skyscrapers.
About, like, Mexicans,
but
like,
let me get into it. Hold on. Hold your horses.
Some lawns, homies.
But no, actually though.
Did they pimp out the Mexicans?
No. Let me speak. Fuck. I'm trying to get to fucking.
Really went off there.
Go on.
But no, like, so we have like, where we're at, upstate New York, man, it's farm country everywhere. You tell people you're from New York, everyone thinks we're from the city. No, man, it's all country. So with that, it's all farm fields and shit. So back in the day, they would have our people go and pick when it came time to harvest, that sort of stuff, before they had like the really big agricultural machines. And aside from that, we would have basket weavers, lacrosse sticks, general just like crafts and goods, stuff like that. And then it kind of morphed and changed as the years went on to more like the iron worker profession became really huge.
Yeah, that's super interesting too, because you, what's that super famous picture of like the steel or the iron workers on top of the New York City skyline?
Yeah.
What percentage of that? Because this is, you told me before, there's like a crazy percentage of the workers shown in that picture are Mohawk, right?
There was like 4 of them or something like that, if I'm not mistaken.
4 to 12.
Well, like out of that whole
Out of the
beam,
picture, there was only a few. There was only a couple people in that picture, but it
was like disproportionately large, considering.
And I remember you. So they had gone to our work, and I remember you telling me that your people kind of got manipulated with that too, right? Like there was some work around labor laws. Was it, or did they just go and work for the city, and that was where they found the work? They just went to the
but there's no real I was thinking of the word. There's no real nothing blocking us from going working from the Canadian side to the American side.
Yeah.
So we would just there's work over there.
Yeah,
let's go.
And
14 people jump in a car and we'll head out to New York City and work for a couple months, right?
And
come back.
We'll work on like a 70-story non-finished building.
Exactly, right?
And eating sandwich. That picture is so fucking crazy. Dude.
Just sitting on an I-beam, it's like
shit, bro.
100 feet in the air and just just eating lunch, laughing. One guy's standing up. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
I think it's probably more than 100 feet. That's what's crazy.
Oh, dude, hundreds.
Many
hundreds of feet. It was so high. You'd love it.
Triggered. But wouldn't there be wind? Like, wouldn't you be a little scared of just
definitely
taking a little slip?
Dude, they were so reckless.
Just that
crazy.
desensitized, bro. They're desensitized to that.
Yeah. You just become accustomed to it. You get ready.
Maybe we're too sensitive.
Yeah, we're bitches, man.
It's flip the tail. I think that's a real thing. It's like I feel like we're too sensitive to death.
True.
And I think I think we shouldn't be so sensitive to death itself, but we should definitely be sensitive to like cruelty and like that sort of death and like just. I don't know how to express that, but I feel like we're pussies.
But see, that's the thing too, is like it's a give and take. So sure, we're a little bit more bitchy and soft, but we're also so much more enlightened in a lot of ways. They were very hardy, you know. They were they stuck to their guns and they were wise to an extent. But I feel like in general, just because of the times we live in, we're much more just understanding and aware of what's going on, and then that can be kind of, I don't know, it kind of takes away from that kind of cowboy mentality, if you will.
But it's also there's multiple angles that you can take down this road, right? It's like you can say, well, it depends on what your definition of enlightened, woke as fuck is. It's like they could be enlightened to. I think we are so not enlightened to materialism. Like we are so attached to me, and I know they weren't back in the day because that didn't start yet. Brands weren't a thing. Like Coca-Cola was just starting, and like there weren't commercials on TV and shit. So they could be more enlightened that way. But I get what you're saying. There's more. I mean,
it's a shift of importance.
Yeah, I guess so. But I guess we don't even really know because that was like what 80, 90 years ago.
Yeah,
and it's like,
well, fuck, even just like. Within our parents' generation and the generation before that, you see these differences.
It's so interesting. Our parents' generation was the easiest.
There's also crazy, man. The 80s? You fucking kidding me?
They were blowing acid.
People literally say
good ass music.
They survived the 80s, but they don't remember it, right?
Like, yeah,
exactly. It wasn't that hard to survive, bro. You were fucked up the whole time. I don't get it. No, like living the dream.
And like, what do we have? Like, we survived 2012.
We survived Make America Great Again.
We survived 2012, right? Remember that?
Oh yeah, true. See, they made a movie off of that shit.
We survived the recession. That was a big thing for us.
How did that affect Akwesasne? How much does the U.S. stock market affect the economy within?
In the grand scheme of things, we're still, in a lot of ways, we're very fortunate to have kind of our own, our own deal. We're not very dependent per se on the economy outside of our region, I find, because you look to towns right beside us that aren't, obviously they're not our territory. So like Messina, for instance, that's like one of the closer, bigger towns. Dude, like just in comparison to when we were kids in the last 10, 15 years, man, that place has gone so downhill. It's really unfortunate.
Yeah, like it's like shifting, right? Because we created our own little little network, our own little government, our own little system.
And you guys would say you're thriving, right?
Yeah, and we're prospering. We're not thriving.
Okay.
We're prospering. We're coming up, and we're getting more people in schools. We're getting more. We're getting our own justice system. We're getting our own thing going, and we're kind of healing of what like.
It's interesting because I just kind of got shivers there because you guys are kind of a reflection of that. You know what I mean? You guys are kind of a reflection of how far that has come. You both are very intelligent young men who are educated. And it's like, no, but for real. And it's not like you just want to, like you say all the time, jump off the canoe and jump off the ship. You want to jump off the canoe, jump onto the ship, take as much as you can, and bring it back to the canoe.
God damn right.
Well said. That's really good.
But that's a reflection of you just look at the young people in whatever, and all the people I've met, all of your friends it's the same mentality. So it's very interesting watching. So what do you think started that?
Man, that's hard to say.
When did it start?
Honestly, I'm not too sure at what point we began to kind of be proud in who we are. It's fairly recent.
Because I imagine I don't know at all, but I'm sure those 50s, 60s, 70s areas or times, even 80s was probably really tough. Just because there was way less connectivity. Yeah, and still just history's short. When was the last residential school closed? 40 years ago or something?
96, bro.
What?
we were so. I was 1 year old when the last one closed. Like
I was born.
Oh, that is unbelievable. So there's still a reflection of that. It's crazy. It's kind of crazy how hard it's U-turn. Just from my outside perspective, you always tell me to go, and I need to go. I need to visit at least. I'll visit this summer.
Fucking right. I'm dragging you, man. I don't give a fuck.
100%.
Well, back to that question. It's hard to say why we do it. Like why I went to college, why I looked for more. I don't even know that. I just wanted to do it. It was something I wanted to do. You know what I mean?
What do you think it was? Your parents and your family, or was it your like group of friends and acquaintances that kind of guided that path?
All right.
I think it was everything mixed up. Like growing up, learning like, okay, I saw this happen when I was 10 years old. I saw someone I saw drunk people walking, like, spending more time at the liquor store than they are at home, or just seeing that. It never happened to me. I brought up as pretty good, and my parents took were always around.
But see, it's strange because a lot of people, it goes either way. It's like if you see a lot of people at the liquor store, you can be like, oh, that's not a good thing, and I'm not going to do that. But you could also be like,
that's a norm,
right? That's
normal.
It. That's what it is.
Can I interject then?
Yeah, 100%.
Right. So what I would think is a little bit of A and B when you're talking about family and friends.
Yeah.
I think on a more kind of macro scale, it came down to like that post 60s going into the 70s era of like the American Indian movement rather, like of the 1970s, that kind of brought us a sense of unity amongst all nations in North America and kind of revived our pride in ourselves.
What was that? Was that like a bill passed in?
It wasn't a bill per se. It was just people coming together and working towards promoting our rights and sovereignties and just kind of revitalizing who we are.
Was that like a splash effect from the human rights movement going on in the States? Because it's right around the same time.
Yeah, I wouldn't discredit it. Yeah. I'd say there's definitely has to be some influence or at least like an idea.
Man, it started like the ball rolling.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
They're doing. Why can't we do it?
Yeah, everybody's taking acid and whoa, man, bro. Let's just be nice to each other.
Exactly.
But even more than that, though, it's like with that mentality carried into it, kind of got ingrained into our parents' generation when they were growing up, 70s, 80s, and then from that they had noticed the kind of shift in dynamic, and they've seen the generation before them that were in a lot of cases, or even in their generation, we had a lot of people who would not work or do anything like that. They were just so miserable and would just like have massive parties in the streets and just like fumble around, and man, it was really sad at one point.
They're pushed to the outside, right?
Yeah.
Like what else do they have to look forward to? Where's the faith?
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to like have a conversation with like one of your parents or like one of your elders or one of your, the people of the Mohawks of the past generation, because I bet it's a totally different outlook than what you guys have right now.
Yeah.
And whatever that's from, it is. So I want to get into what you do for a living here, Hio, because since you're just a grown-ass man over here, you know, I knew him back when he was just a young...
idiot.
Just a college kid.
Just a young college kid fucking around.
Yeah.
Didn't even finish police foundations by the time we knew him. That's trippy.
Yeah, we were in our second
Oh
year.
my
Yeah.
God, that's wild.
Well, back to what I do. I'm a prevention worker, so I work in alcohol, suicide, gambling, drug, prevention, and I do all kinds of stuff around that, and just working in a community, seeing, trying to help the youth grow up with like knowledge, not trying to scare them with knowledge, though. You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Like, how you got your, when we were growing up, you heard like drugs will kill you first time.
Yeah.
Drugs will hurt you right away. They'll destroy your life. And I'm just trying to, like, let people know that there's dangers, because there's also that curiosity. Like, will it kill me?
Yeah.
Will it kill me? And what happens when you do it and it doesn't kill you?
And what happens when you see a friend do it and it doesn't kill them?
Yeah, and they don't explode on the spot. You know what I mean? Like
you just take a puff of joint and you just literally explode.
Like where's that? Your trust has just been thrown out the window. That whole entire all your learnings has been thrown out the window. Like, he lied to me. That guy didn't explode. You know what I mean? Like, there's just like telling me, there's like it's you have to teach them, let them decide, be honest, and let them teach themselves. You know what I mean? Because you can't just throw knowledge at somebody and expect them to want to learn it. You have to throw it at them and expect them to get it. You know what I mean? They have to understand what you're throwing at them. And
exactly. And we're a lot smarter now. We're a lot more informed. So once you start talking to young kids who might be affected by this kind of shit, that you cannot do that because it's gonna ruin your fucking life, then either they're super scared to do anything and you're just like manipulating by fear, or they're not going to take the right precautions when going and attempting to do these things.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, they can tell you bullshit right off the bat, because you tell them this information and then they go on their phone. Everyone has phones nowadays. They go on their phones, look up your information. These kids fucking bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's easy as that. It's easy as them looking it up and getting different information.
So what I see in that is that kind of like the movement of who you're working with? Like, is that the goal of that team that because you're working with a team, right? You're working with a group of people.
Yeah, I'm working with a group of people, and I don't know. It's not really. We just try to do the best we can, right?
Yeah.
And but
it's a very progressive way of thinking.
Yeah,
about
we're trying to. Like, just I don't know. You don't make it your own, right?
Mm-hmm.
You ain't gonna be passionate about something if you don't make it your own. You can't take someone else's dream and make it your own. You have to modify it to make you want to do it. You have to make yourself strive to do something, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to do. Is I'm trying to find a new look at it, or I'm just testing it. And
it's
what I mean? And I never learned from fear. I learned from
It's true.
Like, you don't learn from.
That's good. That's quotable.
I never learned from fear.
Quotable.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like. You
often get misled by fear.
Yeah, like
it's not even learn. You get misled. You go down the wrong path when you're attacked by fear.
Yeah, and there's different kinds of fear also too, right? There's like I was afraid to start football. You know what I mean? I was afraid of that, but I tested it.
But you went for it.
But I went for it, right? And I did it. And it was fun, and I kept going with it. And any kind of sport,
and
right?
You grew from that. If you wouldn't have taken that dive to go in and battled that fear, then you would have never even, whatever experiences subconsciously or consciously you had playing that competitive sport within that team, you would have never learned those lessons.
Yeah.
And there's a good quote from Terry Crews, and whatever you think about God, but it's God's work does not manifest in the hands of cowards. So if you let fear control you, you're not going to do what you need to do.
Yeah, exactly. Right?
Yeah.
And just modifying that and just trying to get the information out there and trying to raise awareness, right? All you can do is raise awareness. You can't
and honestly
you can't dictate someone's life for them,
because the way you're talking about it, though, even I don't know about you guys, but growing up, that's a way different way that shit was approached way differently than how you're explaining how you guys are approaching it now. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, hey, this is what you're gonna do, and if you do this is what you do, right? It was like, don't fucking do it. That's
right?
it.
So you heard
and
it,
you know
right?
what I ended up doing? just doing it all.
Like you were told to do it, and being like a juvenile and being I can't think of the word. Just being like young and being you want to go against everything, right? You want to
fuck authority.
Yeah, you're not fuck authority.
I still have that mentality.
You're gonna go.
Right?
You're gonna go against it, right?
Of course.
If you're being, you still want to be an authoritative figure, but you also want to be. You want to be able to connect. You want to build that rapport with people. Not being able to talk to them one-on-one, right?
You're especially gonna have that fuck authority mentality if you're being lied to, too.
And if you're being lied to, right?
Especially if you're being lied to,
and also being just, not being honest and telling someone to do something, you don't want to do it, right? Mm-hmm. I tell you, go turn that stereo on.
Yeah,
you might do it because you like music, but you know what I mean. But if it's something,
go turn that stereo on, or I'm gonna punish you.
Yeah,
Fuck
exactly.
You,
Go turn that stereo on. You're gonna die. You know what I mean? Like,
I might do it then.
Exactly.
That's extreme. Okay.
Well, that's a shitty metaphor, but you know what I mean. It's just like it's telling someone to do something. Yeah. They're not going to listen to you because you're telling them. You're not asking them. You're not telling them why. You know what I mean? You're putting that knowledge behind it and taking those extra steps to care about something more, right? To be more expressive of it and. Like I teach in schools. I do like Too Good for Drugs.
Yeah, so violence. I wanted to go into that. So what do you do exactly, and what kind of organization is this that you work with?
So I work with like the government of Akwesasne, and I work along with I go into schools. I do like the Too Good for Drugs, Too Good for Violence curriculums, and like those are really nice. Those are really cool. But I usually use them.
Wow, what an empowering!
I use them as like a reference
platform, though.
Yeah.
Instead of like don't do drugs, it's too good. You are too good. That's interesting. That's interesting. And that psychology goes a long way.
Yeah, it's just rewording it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And empowering the person instead of saying you're a fucking idiot if you do this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and like that self thought, right? If the way you think of yourself is the way you're going to perceive yourself, right? And it's just passing that information off so they could take something and learn from it rather than scaring into them. And then I just do like a lot of community events. So like I do like this like self-empowerment events. So we recently did a basket class, basket making for youth, and it was like traditional way. We pounded out the log, got the splints and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And just passing on teachings. And
who are the kids who usually attend these events? Like where do they come from? Are they like kind of forced to go in there, or do you just go into schools and you're like, this is going to be this, or is it like you guys go after and target the groups that think need to hear this message?
We target, but we don't force. Nothing we do is a forced thing. It's got something they want to do because that's like a negative. That puts a negative on the group too. Yeah. Also, they're trying to learn something, right? Yeah. If one person's like being negligent of the knowledge and the fact that's being passed through, it's gonna adapt more. So we don't try to force people to go. We use the stuff we do is pretty fun. Like I do it. I think it's fun. I like that kind of knowledge. And you do see people or kids who come in and they don't want to do it, right? Yeah. And then you see them the second day they come and they're like, I know what, I kind of want to. They're learning, so I want to see what's happening. And by the third day, they're interacting, they're making a basket, or they're doing something. They're changing their perceived mind because no one's forcing them to do it.
That's super powerful.
And it's their own decision to do something. And that's what I think. That's how I learned as a kid.
Yeah.
Every time I was told something to do something, I didn't want to do it. When I wanted to do it, I thrived for it. So I'm not gonna do something I've been told I don't want to do. Right?
That's true.
I'm gonna deny it, and it's not gonna be fun for me.
And you're gonna do it because you want to have fun too. Yeah, right? You want to learn. You want
to enjoy it, and you want to seek that knowledge and seek that. Even though it's not just knowledge, it could be just an experience, or you're just chasing that experience that you want to learn, and you want to do yourself, and it's just gonna make it more enjoyable for you and others, right?
It's super interesting too that they employ young men like you. You're 22, 21?
22.
So you're 22, and I remember being a kid and being like, yo, those teenagers are so cool, man. And like looking up to those people. And when you have someone like you in those situations, I feel like it's much more engaging than having, for lack of a better term, a geezer.
Yeah, so that it's more relatable, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not much farther ahead than they are. Talking to high school students, I'm 5-6 years older. It's weird on me too, because I was like, I still hang out with people your age. I have friends that are 18 years old. Like I still hang out with a lot, and it's like they're just recently graduated high school, and I feel like there's like less of an authority figure and,
and
more
it brings
of
an understanding. It's like you aren't sitting there being like, you shouldn't do this and you should do this. It's like, I understand why you do this, and like I can see why you do this because I've been around that, and you can share stories, and then you can hopefully lead them in your direction. Obviously it doesn't always happen like that, right?
Yeah,
Because,
but I just you gotta take it your own way, right? If you could tell them, I see why you do this. I'm just want to tell you the dangers of doing it, what could happen and what could happen. I'm not like this is going to happen. These are just the pathways that could lead to it, and there's different ways. There isn't always a chance. Was it your decision to do it? Was it someone else's? Was it peer pressure? And just teaching them all these different terms and like different ways why stuff happens is they could ting into it. They could wrap their mind around it. And if that maybe it's something they didn't want to do themselves, and they're just doing it because all their friends do it, and it maybe helps them relate to somebody. Maybe it's like that isn't the right decision for them. And they maybe change their mind. Even if I could, think of one person I could help, or if I could pass the information on 4 of 100 people I talk to, I think I succeeded because they learned from me, right? And you can't connect with everybody. You can't pass the message on to everybody. Not everyone's going to hear it. So just focusing on the 4 people who did get it and be like, okay, they come back to you. Like I've had kids that the way you taught was different and it engaged me. I'm usually quiet in the class, and they were asking all the questions or interacting in the class the most. It makes me feel good, right?
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like how did
it gives you some energy.
Yeah, it gives you energy. It makes you want to do it again.
And what a meaningful life that is. You think about, I don't know if you guys think about it, but I think about my deathbed and like, do I want to live that meaningful life like that? You like you said, even if you affect one person, like that means the most. You can think back to that moment. But if you get caught up in this rat race, this bullshit, that doesn't mean anything. And even like thinking in the future, it's gonna be so interesting how many kids come up to you and be like, yo, you changed my path.
Yeah,
you changed the direction of which I was going. So powerful. So do you think that, so you're focusing on youth a lot, is that a big thing in Akwesasne?
Yeah, it's engaging youth, right? It's like one of the big things I would like to work with. I like to work with youth because I connect with them, and just it's more fun. And that's when I really learned when I was a kid, right? When you're youth, and just introducing it. And
did you have these programs when you guys were growing up though?
They were around, but they weren't really like around. You know what I mean? They were just being brought up. They were being like, they weren't really funded as they are now. They weren't like really big. And there was like some, but they weren't as like frequent as they are now. Like we're trying to host an event at least once a month, and just getting communities involved. And it's not just kids though. We try to bring the families in also, and we're just trying to bring everybody together as one, right? Trying to connect the community in every way we can. And I also like you said, you're thinking about your deathbed, right?
Yep.
Your chase. My grandfather, he recently passed away a couple of years ago, but that's one of the big things he taught me is like he told me, don't chase your death, chase the life.
Oh, that's another quotable from him.
Yeah, he's like,
God damn.
He told me, and I never forgot about that. He's like, he's always told me, don't chase your death, chase the life, right? And go for something extra. If you, it's just not all about, is it gonna kill me? It's just try to go for the things that like, will it make me better? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's powerful. Sometimes the things that might kill you might make you better, though.
Yeah, exactly.
In the end, too, right? So you're saying that the shift of Akwesasne as a whole. Yeah, I hear that too.
Yeah.
Is it the wine or is it the?
What is that?
Yeah, lift up all the cups.
Yeah, we're just lifting all the cups.
Okay, here, let me put something under the fucking table. No, you can keep the cups on there.
Yeah, cool.
It's got to be someone's headphones. Maybe it's...
This right here. Something right here.
It might be these.
I can hear it when I touch mine.
Super annoying, whatever it is.
Okay, don't touch the table.
I think it's the mic, actually.
Yeah, but which one? Here, wait. Oh, Oh, it's yours. Troy.
Yeah. Let's tighten this bitch up. Technical difficulties.
So let's go to a word to our sponsor.
Yeah.
Let's go to our word from our
Akwesasne TV. Oh man. No, it's pretty interesting to hear like you guys kind of deliberate through what you do, just because for the most part you're speaking from experience, and the experience you're speaking of ties hand in hand into what I've been learning about for this past semester. Because honestly, it does come down to that. What's that? Fuck you. It comes down to the intrinsic motivators in the grand scheme of things. You can tell somebody as much as you want, but in the end, it's up for them to decide if they're going to act on it or not.
This is a fucking metal thing.
Is it? Yeah. True.
So I can't hear it no more though.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Sounds good. It's back on. Ooh, like a glove.
Oh, God bless.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, it fits itself. It's super annoying though if you're like listening to it and you hear it.
Yeah, you hear that constantly.
All right, what were you talking about? The Akwesasne youth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so
The future.
yeah, well, it's just super interesting because I feel like it just going talking about fuck man. I'm gonna have to edit this shit.
Jeez.
we talk about young people a lot, and it's like it not even just talking about Akwesasne. It's a very interesting case study, I guess, in this in those terms, because it's very isolated, right? It's very especially you guys growing up so close to it, you're very in it. But it's just like the same for everywhere. It's like, why are these young people joining ISIS? It's like, why are these young people doing drugs? Because they don't have these type of programs that like give them a sense of meaning and a sense of give them role models. Like, who were your role models growing up?
I don't know. I really looked up to Daryl Thompson. He was a big one.
Like a person near.
Yeah, he would come to our freedom school, Akwesasne Freedom School, where we went, and he was just like a kind of a traditional guru, if you will. He knew just about everything, and he would just come in and help us with when it came to like skinning animals, stuff like that, and then he'd kind of go into his story behind that. Oh yeah, so good.
He knew everything though. He has like knowledge in like the culture and tradition, and he's like very knowledgeable in every little aspect of like life. He has a little bit of information, and if he doesn't have it, he takes the time to go and figure it out for you and for himself. You know, maybe something he was useful
and leads you. You'll have to like crank that up.
Okay, I got it. Yeah.
It's cheap, man. I'm broke. I don't know, but it's interesting having maybe. I'm just trying to wrap my head around what created you guys.
Families, man.
And what comes along with families is role models. Because growing up, I don't feel like I had many role models, like male role models in the community. Right? I had my father, but other than that, I had my mom, but no one. I never connected with any teachers. I played badminton and never really connected with the coaches. I never really connected with anybody, right? And it's kind of a hopeless until I found music and I found hip hop and I found different people on the internet. Thank God for the internet, because that gave me a little light to follow, sort of, right? But other than that, it's like where does that come from? And I guess that is where it comes from, right? From the families that you grow up with. And it's like your community has been pushed into such a I don't really know how to explain it, you know what I mean? It's a difficult situation because of just the history. So I feel like when you're just pushed into these corners, you group together. not as a joke, but I just think about like the Jewish community. It's like years of slavery and years of just death and shit, and they come together. They bank with their own community. They buy from their own community. They are so revolved around their own community, and it kind of reminds me of, native, indigenous people within my community. Although I'm really not surrounded by many other than you guys, but you guys are a very valuable resource to be getting that secondhand information from. So you guys are pretty much the next Jews.
Oh shit!
Kill it, dude. You're gonna like open up banks and shit soon.
Like, yeah.
It's just like if you back anything into a corner, it's gonna fight back, right?
Yeah.
And you only could take so much of being oppressed for so long before you start fighting back.
Yeah.
And this is just a stepping stone to fighting back. Is this becoming
and
our own
it doesn't
people.
have to be fighting back like throwing stones. It can
exactly.
be like, okay, let's figure out how to outsmart these idiots.
like let's start taking apart the blocks that are putting these people on their pedestal, right? Start taking from their experiences, start learning from our past, and start changing it so we can adapt to our better people, right?
And you guys coming together. We had a conversation like this in our last podcast. It's like I think it was you who brought up the conversation. This is 8 months ago, so forgive me if I'm not verbatim. But you brought up the topic of people. The time, it was from a Joe Rogan podcast. The time you feel the most connected is when you're fighting with someone else, right? Like when you're with someone else. And growing up in my community in Muskoka, there was never really a sense of connectedness. And that's where you guys are. And that's building. There's a difference between emotional intelligence and IQ, right? Like those are two different things. And your community is building emotional intelligence. You're right. You're sitting down, you're connected, and you're having these conversations, and you're trying to understand each other and understand which path you want to take, rather than just like sending you down the conveyor belt. And that's why I think it's a better path to take. I don't know, right? But I guess you guys are, like I said, the example of that situation and building that connectedness with your family and with your relationships, and being able to be like, sit down and be like, this is what we want to do. This is who we are, and owning that. That was my spiel.
Yeah,
it's good. It's a good spiel.
So again, what you said, you were in Sudbury this past.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago I was in Sudbury, and
so you got sent there to
LGBTQ conference. It was through Rainbow Health puts a conference on every 2 years.
Yeah,
and this year they focused on LGBTQ within Aboriginal communities and Aboriginal health also. So they decided to have it in Sudbury on the Ojibwe.
Sudbury,
I'm not too sure.
It was the Anishinaabe actually. I think it was the Anishinaabe lands.
Yeah, and
there's like two subdivisions, like the different residents that are also there that also have their territories, their traditional territories. So they had decided to have it there, and so much knowledge is passed through. They got so many awesome presenters like brought in from the Anishinaabe communities. They had an elder Gloria.
See, you guys are
along.
Exactly like the Jews. You're coming together, dude. Yeah. This is gonna be a win.
And like it was an awesome.
It's interesting, and they're sending you out there so you can gain as much knowledge to bring back home.
Yeah, to bring back, right?
And what a progressive way to do it too. Like super interesting, extremely interesting. And that's how is that funded? Like, what is taxes like, and like how does the Akwesasne police and like government, how do they get funds? Is it kind of complicated?
In a way.
Grants.
So, yeah, we run on like grants, we run on trust funds, we from the Canadian government.
True.
And we run like but it's given to us, and they're like, okay,
yeah.
And also private donators also.
Yeah,
at times.
It's run on all these different things, and
powerful.
Yeah.
We utilize what we can get, right, and create budgets and create our own little system where we pull from this interest of money every single year, and we reuse it. And we go over, like, if they weren't using enough, we'll give it to somebody else that's going to use that amount of money, and it's just spending and just money management, and
you probably allocate it better too because of you guys are probably underfunded. I'm sure you're underfunded, right?
My program, we're actually pretty funded. We're pretty funded.
You're underfunded compared to everything else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like contrasting that to like the OPP or like Ontario public schools, you're underfunded in that way. I would guess, right? They're not like throwing a fucking.
I don't know. I wouldn't say we're underfunded because like our police have a lot of like tools and utilization. I think we're undersupported.
True, but my point would have been, it's not that it affects how you run. It's that you probably use it better because you're on a budget, right?
Yeah.
So you understand where the important places to allocate this capital is.
Yeah, so it's all a learning experience, right? Like this has been built from years and years of trial and error, and we're just now being able to confidently utilize these skills that other people have brought along. And our past, like I took over another position someone else had that they retired. They're just passing on knowledge, and like they have like they teaching it, right? You're passing on our knowledge and passing on experiences, and just you're learning how to use the money that you have and what works, what not, what doesn't work. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And I think you guys are on the right path, as it sounds. And so I'm gonna go to you, Troy.
Yo.
So what are you taking right now?
So I'm taking criminology with a specialization in sociology, mouthful, at fucking Carleton University.
Sure, you want to pull them?
Yeah.
Just figure it. Don't worry about it. If it starts making the noise, I'll just replace mine.
Cool.
Hey. So why? And you were. What? Yeah, it's right there. You just got up like some fucking. What are those little like those little things in Africa that like poke their head up out of the tall grass? Yeah, meerkat. That's exactly what Hugh just did right now.
Meerkat
looking for
Hugh.
the bathroom. Like it was a leopard chasing after him.
Oh fuck! gotta take this dump.
Okay, so go on.
I'm taking criminology at Carleton U. We recently just ended our strike, which was pretty solid.
Yeah, what was this bullshit strike about? Was it bullshit, or am I just being an asshole? Yeah, you want more coffee, sir?
Sure, yeah, I'll take some more.
I definitely want some more.
The strike, to my knowledge, was basically the support staff of the university kind of having their say in negotiation tactics or negotiation rights rather for their pension, and the administration was trying to kind of take away that ability to at least negotiate any changes that would come about, and so that was the whole kind of spiel as far as I know.
Yeah.
I
heard there was like a picket line.
Yeah, there was a picket line. It was annoying, like for everyone involved. Because we're students trying to get to class, right?
That's the thing. It's unfortunately whenever it's a situation like this, it happened with Algonquin too. Yeah. It's like it always affects the students the most.
It's
There's
terrible.
no other group of people that's suffering other than or the most like the students are.
Yeah, and I guess the idea is to annoy the students into support, or at least no, I don't know. In a way, I don't know if that's maybe the goal, but essentially, I think that's kind of a product of it. Is you're pissing us off to the point where we speak up, and which puts the pressure on the administration to kind of get their shit together.
Yeah, I agree, but honestly, I think they're just so lost in everything that they don't even care what the students say. It's all about the money, right? It's like the students are going to make noise, but it's like they're not going to make their final decision based on people making Facebook posts or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever they can do.
Yeah. But in and of itself, at least, it puts a little bit more pressure on them, and I think that's what they were trying to get from us.
Yeah, true, and that's what they always do.
Yeah, way it goes. Oh man, dude, like
you're manipulating the public.
Hey, what the fuck you doing? What do you got going on here? Yeah, you fucking Johnny Manipulator over here. What the fuck?
Okay, so you're in first year of that.
Yeah, first semester, technically second year because of the credit transfer from Algonquin.
So first semester, second year, so you have 3 more years.
Yep.
And then you want to do your master's.
Yeah.
You're going to be so educated, bro.
My mind's just going to fucking explode on me one day.
You will explode, I promise you.
Dude. I can't wait. It's been pretty cool, though. Like, what I'm getting from university is it's a lot of jargon. It's a lot of simple ideas that anyone could get, but they like to add a lot of shit to make it really, like, just add some pizzazz, if you will.
Like, what do you mean?
I don't know.
Really
just
see the business workings.
I don't know. Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is the ideas are easy enough for us to understand, but they like to add a lot of filler information that isn't really. I guess it can help a lot of other people,
Paint
but
the pictures.
Yeah. Like, I can see the idea behind it, but it almost seems a little
like
unnecessary.
It's clogging.
Yeah, like you get so much information thrown at you.
Yeah, it's kind of trippy though, because like I think that's part of the reason why the education system's all fucking jamboozled. If I was to use the best word I could think possible,
Jamboozled. I like that.
Jamboozled. It's because there's different ways of learning things.
Mm-hmm.
Like you might be better in a certain learning a certain way, and then the fucking Tommy right beside you is better at like painting pictures with his dick, and that's how he learns shit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
exactly.
It's like, I really get the meaning of this the criminology effect.
Yeah.
When I splash.
Well, if you're painting pictures with your dick, Troy's studying you. I tell you. Because there's something to learn there.
Maybe that's the goal. Maybe you get a bunch of people who are interested in this, and then you like test them. You throw just a bunch of fucking crazies in there. Like you got Luke beside you, just like being a troll on the internet.
Hello, Clarice. You know what I mean?
Okay, so, but it's interesting because from what I know, your goal is to bring your knowledge back to the canoe.
Goddamn right.
So you're living here now, but you want to move back to Akwesasne.
Yeah.
And with all the education you're going to be getting, how are you going to apply that? What's the goal to apply it?
The long-term goal is to work with my beauty of a partner right here.
Partner in crime.
Oh yeah, partner in crime,
PSC,
baby.
Dog.
But yeah, like the whole long-term goal is to work towards getting a victim services for our community that really caters to like the unique situation of our exactly, territory. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of just like going on the jurisdictional nightmare for one. Holy fuck.
Yeah, but exactly. That's just another layer on top of the.
It's a multifaceted issue.
Confusingness of the environmental situation that you guys are in.
We're just trying to build something where you could work through the barriers, right?
Yeah. Find
the loopholes. Find these areas where, because something happens on the American side, they want to seek refuge in the Canadian side, and that what happens there? They're gonna get lost in the system. Mm-hmm. And we're just trying to find somewhere where we could be that safe crossing, that safe place to be in, and to find support, to find knowledge and find this like a level of security of you're gonna come to us and we're gonna be able to work cross borders, cross jurisdictions. That's what we're gonna try to do, right? Mm-hmm. And try to everything we can. If we have to
interact on a personal level too,
interact on a personal and relatable level, also like that, and also there's also big barriers to find with that. Like start where we establish, where we're gonna find this ground of having, and that's where
I guess you guys are laying the groundwork too.
Yeah.
As young people, that's a lot of work, guys.
And
you understand the amount of work that'll come with that. Why do you still want to do this? What inspires you guys to want to help build your community?
Me first? You first?
Yeah,
Me first?
One of the bastards.
So for me, it's more of in line with just helping my fellow man. That's what it's always been about for me. I just I want to make the world less miserable.
But why?
Because in honesty, it makes me feel good to help others get to a place where they feel good. And you know, you can say it's selfish or whatever, but like it's taken, say, a negative concept and turning it into like a positive twist on it.
But why does selfishness have to be negative? Why is that a negative connotation?
That's just how most people perceive it.
But it doesn't have to be, right?
It's like how you perceive it, right?
Exactly.
It's 100% how you perceive it. And that's a great point, and it's a very honest point, I think, too, right? It's like, because it makes me feel good. That's what that, and it goes back to the point you were making when you're having these conversations with these young children, and they start like interacting, and they start becoming more a part of the program, and it's like you even said you even got excited about it and like passionate about it. You're like, it gives me this energy. It gives you something. It's really doing something for yourself, and there's something in there that people don't get that you guys get.
Yeah,
obviously, right?
What's the reciprocity of it, right? Like, you're putting in the work and you're seeing their gears move, and you know, you get to see them start to get it, and then
it gives to you too, because you build patience, you build relationship, you have a feeling that makes you like, that makes you human. There's a humanity that comes with that. It's very interesting, and it's noble too, right? Because it is a lot of work. It is a lot of work, which you guys are hoping to like endure on.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of sleepless nights, but it's gonna be in the long run so worth it. And even, you know, if we only get half to the point of actually establishing it, and we die for whatever reason, that groundwork is that much further for the next person to pick it up and move forward.
100%. That groundwork the groundwork is often not able to be highlighted because you don't know. You don't know how many people you've affected. You don't know who you inspired. Tupac said, he's like, I'm not going to be the man that changes the world, but I will inspire the person who does. So it's like, you don't know. That kid that you just talked to at your last basket weaving class could be that kid who picks up your torch when you guys are doing whatever you're doing, or if you're sitting in heaven with Tupac. But why do you want to do it? Despite all the fucking work and the grind and the like, it's not even just like a grind, like a physical grind, because it is a lot of sleepless nights. You're gonna be tired as fuck, and you're gonna be skipping meals, you're gonna be like, I need some water. You're gonna run to the waterfall, but it's gonna be like emotionally draining. It's so especially in the field because what if that one kid is not interacting, and you try so hard to put it, to do whatever you can, and it still is just not there. That drains you. As much as it could give you back, there's as much as risk versus reward. As much reward as you could possibly get from this, there's as much emotional risk that comes along with it too.
Yeah,
it's daunting.
And partly the biggest reason why I do this is I do something that no one else has done before, right? And I see this as something that no one else has done yet, or to create that jump over jurisdictional night, like trying to like prevent, just establish something that
put your brick on the building, right? Put your brick on the building. Do your hand in helping create this house that you're trying to build as a community.
Yeah. So just trying to help somebody one day at a time, right? One step at a time. And just having it so I have a purpose in life. It makes me want to have a purpose, and I figured that this is like really. I just kicked your coffee. Sorry, but get out. But it's just like creating that groundwork, and it's something that trying something new. You know what I mean? Chasing that life, chasing that knowledge and that experience of doing something that is ours, and have something of our own that we can control and to change and to adapt to what's happening, and just being able to just get away from the man that specific that treadmill.
But that's the rebel thought, man. That's the rebel thought. I think that rebel thought's important. You need to fight back. You need to fight against the oppressor, or else there's no balance in the force, dog.
Goddamn,
you need to have the Jedis and the Sith. I almost forgot the name of the Sith.
Man.
Bro, I know, I'm a fucking idiot.
Do or do not. Never try.
Don't try. Oh, well, Yoda.
Y'all,
See that?
y'all both fucked that up.
Yoda is right beside the Buddha and the Bible. All right.
Oh shit.
That's it right there.
Oh shit.
We understand the importance of Yoda in this household.
Fuck yeah.
So you guys think like that, and I know a lot of people. I think similar to you guys, and that's why we're friends, and that's why we chill, and that's why we can have these conversations.
Yeah.
But I think there's a large majority. I'm totally an optimist when it comes to the faith of humanity and shit. But there's a lot of people who don't think like you guys are thinking right now, right? They don't want to sacrifice those sleepless nights and that emotional draining for that blood, sweat, and tears for laying that brick down, because they just don't care. They can't be bothered.
Yeah.
So what makes it? What's the difference? Because this is, I know it's a fucking hard question, because like a question I always ask myself, it's like, what is the difference that makes you want to do that rather than someone who just wants to get likes on their Instagram page and buy a brand new Jeep?
Yeah. It all comes down to those intrinsic motivators, man. We need to really like the thought within.
Yeah. So
the motivation.
So maybe I can reword. Do you have like maybe a specific example of when you felt that intrinsic motivation personally, and you understood at that moment that is what you want to feel? It's kind of hard to bring it up. It's kind of hard to think back, especially with all the pot I've smoked. But don't do drugs, right? Right, Hio? Stay away, or you might get your hands chopped off.
But that's why
You'll explode in the street. You know what I mean?
Sighs really sadly, like you don't get it, bro.
You'll explode. Like, come on.
Everyone knows it. But no, that's why it comes down to life experience, right? So maybe going on to kind of fill in your question there. For me, one of the earlier instances in life where I kind of realized, hey, this is what I'd like to go into, maybe on a broader scheme at the time, because I was like fucking 10 or 11 or whatever. There's a river behind my house, and my mother and sister and I were there swimming. My sister was much younger than me at the time. She was like maybe 3 or 4 years old. You know, still, or
how old were you?
Maybe even younger. She was still in diapers. I'm 6 years older, so about 8, 9, 10, somewhere in there.
One of those.
Yeah, somewhere, in that kind of cloggy area when you're still, you're getting up there.
You're kind of sort of starting to figure it out. Sort of, kind of.
Exactly. But what had happened was it came time to leave, it was a summer day, and we were there for, just to cool off. And when it came time to pack up and go, we were looking around, my mother and I, and we couldn't find my sister. So I thought back to the last spot I seen her, which was on the shoreline. So without really thinking much more than that, I jumped into the water and I found her like submerged.
Whoa.
Like standing like it was actually kind of funny. She was standing like a starfish and had like this expression of like, just, I don't know, like surprise, like just wide eyes and mouth open and kind of like floating off into the oblivion of the river. And I was like, holy shit. So I brought her out, and she didn't swallow any of the water, luckily, but that was something that kind of, after the fact, it brought me a lot of joy to know that I had helped her in that moment of need. And I think that was a really pivotal moment in my life to kind of set me onto this track.
That's powerful. And it's like a moment of connectedness too. It's not just like, that's not even just, it's like the moment of making eye contact with your sister as she's about to, like you said, get dragged into the abyss. That can be metaphorically used for a shit ton of things. Like even just like a homeless person, like as you see them fucking taking a heroin needle and you make eye contact with them as they're going off into the abyss, that can change something, right? Especially trying to save them. That's powerful. I saw that. That was a movie in my head right there, bro.
I'm glad I painted the picture well.
It was, that was very vivid. What about you? Is there any specific moments? I'm sure there's...
Not that I could think of. Not that I could think of. Just like a building block, right?
Yeah.
It was built all of my life, and they just led to this moment. But
it could be a combination of little things, and it's not even a wise man learns from his, or a smart man learns from his mistakes, and a wise man learn from others' mistakes. So you could probably be an incredibly wise person, and you don't even have to go through a moment like that to understand what that feels like. And there could be a different. You could be a fucking. What are those people who like have lived multiple lives? You know what I'm talking about?
Porn star? I don't know.
Yes. They definitely have it.
Oh, man.
Speaking of that, you know who Johnny Sins is?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, the big bald dude with the huge cock.
Massive hog, man.
He gives it to, like, he's a porn star. He's a famous one. And I was like in the fucking depths of YouTube last night. It was like 3:30 in the morning. And I was a little drunk. And I was watching his vlogs. And he's just like, you know, I like living in Hawaii. And I like to meditate before I go to bed. And everybody's caught up in this materialistic world. I was like, it's a good example because porn stars probably do. Yeah. They probably live that second life and they know, fuck it, dude.
Yeah.
I'm going to do what I want. It's just interesting because I'm asking these questions because I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I think like you guys. I don't totally know why. Like I can go back and recount different memories of whether that's extreme struggle or extreme uprising, like your situation. But it's like those moments where you feel so alone that that's when you really get to know yourself, right? There's these, and I like I said, I don't know how one gets to that point, but I'm really curious as to what, because once we figure that out, I think we will figure out humanity. You know what I mean? Once we understand what makes a human want to do better for another person, that's when shit will change. That'll be the turning point. So it's like I have no idea. I think struggle is really important, and I going back to you guys as an example of that, and just growing up. I don't know because I didn't grow. Like I said, disclaimer: I didn't grow up with you guys, but there's a different sense of struggle of you guys growing up in Akwesasne than Timmy and Tina growing up in the suburbs of Stittsville, right? Not understanding what life is and being focused on the external. You guys aren't focused on the external. You guys are focused on the internal. You guys are focused on how something makes you feel. And a lot of people don't care. It's like, I want this because I want to do that so I can look to be that kind of person. So it's different. And it's just crazy because everybody that I met from Akwesasne is like that. You know what I mean? It's not just one of you. It's not just two of you. And it's not like you guys are the minority. It's the majority. So there has to be something. I don't know whether that's the struggle of growing up. Whether I think you hit it on the head. A major part of it is the family and the connectedness and the community that you guys build. That helps you understand those feelings and how to appreciate and take advantage of those feelings.
Well, like, to be fair, like most of the natives you met coming from Akwesasne, we all came from
Privileged. You guys are privileged.
No, the Freedom School.
Oh, true.
Like the school we were talking about that me and Troy met.
Yeah.
Majority of the people you met.
So what's the difference in the Freedom School? It's not just a name. So it's a powerful name.
No.
Like we were talking about the subconscious of like, you're too good to do that.
Yeah.
Saying Freedom School is just walking into those doors. You're like, I feel good doing this, dude. It's not like the trapped school.
Yeah. I go to the closed school.
There'd be a huge difference in mentality.
Yeah.
So what's
so the Freedom School is a language based private school.
Yeah,
you could say it's focused on culture, language, knowledge, and just passing it on through the youth. And majority of the learning you do there is in the language, and is passed on through like not everyone there is actual teachers. They're community members who lived like considered masters in certain things. You would say, so some are masters in medicines, traditional singing, and you just learn from these people growing up from pre-K to grade 8. You could go up to I left earlier because I don't know. I didn't like the school. So,
You just dipped?
by like 7th grade, I was like, I'm enough of this.
Fuck.
And
It wasn't a perfect
I'm
spot.
free
yeah,
enough.
no, yeah.
But no, it is a very unique spot in all honesty.
I think you guys probably would be different if it was perfect, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
Like
Definitely.
there's
Like-
something to go along with
like-
being
Mhm.
struggle.
Like, what is perfect though? Like,
It's true.
so it's how do you achieve perfect if no one what is perfect?
So it's too subjective.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's too subjective. Like,
Who's perfect?
Joe Rogan.
That was gay, bro.
I hope he hears that.
I was thinking of some like hot chick. Like who? No one's perfect. Not even
Yeah.
Joe Rogan's perfect.
No,
And-
nobody's perfect.
And that I talk about all the time. It's different too because
Mm-hmm.
we live. Nobody's perfect, but he also we see what he shows us.
Mm-hmm.
Same with everybody too, right? Like whoever's listening to this only sees what we choose to show them.
Mm-hmm.
So there's also this barrier here. But so you focus on school, or you focus on like language,
Mm-hmm.
and you focus on community building. And was that the minority of schools within your community? Like, is that different from other schools within your community?
In a lot of ways, yes. I can't really speak too much about the experience of like the public school system. I wasn't part of it.
Yeah.
As far as I know, though, we were free in a lot of ways. We were very unconventional. We just based on our schedule at hand, we'd go 5 weeks on, 1 week off, and I think a part of that was to promote the kind of solidity of a family because you needed to figure something out to do with your child for that week. For me, that was going to spend time with my grandmother, and I learned a lot from her growing up because of that. I'm not too sure about others, but I think that it allowed for a lot of bridges, just like within not only our school life but like just our personal lives.
Building those relationships.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And those relationships are. They're definitely not focused on where I grew up.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's irrelevant.
And I think a major difference too would be kind of the promotion of what you're to aspire to in life. Like in comparison to Freedom School to more public schools, I would believe that they would, in the public school system, they would put more kind of validity into being that quote unquote successful business entrepreneur or something of that nature, something where you're going more for monetary gains as opposed to community and what's the word?
It's more of a rigid curriculum, more of a cookie cutter curriculum rather than the very forged.
Yeah, and the preservation of what we have.
Yeah.
And that was a big part of the Freedom Schools,
That's
the preservation and revitalization.
You said the word purpose earlier, or like a few minutes ago, and that's kind of what that does, right? I think everybody needs to live with purpose, find some sort of purpose, have some sort of faith, and that's kind of what it does, right? It's like we need to work. We've been going back to this narrative. We need to work together to put this brick down,
exactly,
for the next generation or whoever wants to pick it up after, and that's the purpose. That's the purpose of living. And a lot of motherfuckers out here don't think about purpose. How often do you have a conversation about purpose with some random, or even I mean, I keep my circle tight and talk with you guys, and I'm glad I have you guys, and I have Jacob, and I have all these people, I have Luke, that we focus on that. But I work at the Sobeys, never, and that I feel, I guess not the majority, but those people, it's not a thought. It's not a thought to live with purpose, and it's not a thought we need to do something good to have faith in something. And that's where I feel a lot of depression and anxiety comes within our society. What's like the mental health state in Akwesasne? Like, you guys have lived there and you've lived here. What compare and contrast it Because I'm curious.
I feel like we have a better sense of kind of the importance behind community and that stuff, but we also lack. I lost my train of thought. We lack.
You have a better sense of purpose in community.
Yeah, but fuck, what are we lacking?
We lack emotional connectivity.
Yeah, that's a big issue.
We lack emotion. Like, you do see me and Troy, like, we hug a lot. We, you know, we're
yeah, that kind of surprised me when you guys say that, to be totally honest, because I feel I get that the most from you guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like...
So, like, a lot of people are, like, residential schools happen from it. Just all about being this stuck in this box of, like, masculinity and emotionless and having to be tough to survive. That's been stuck in the progression of, like, our people too. Also, we're trying to break down the barriers right now and trying to rebuild it. But a lot of times, like, a lot of people have never even heard "I love you" from their mother or father because
Crazy.
it's so awkward to say it sometimes. Like,
it's hard.
I find it troubling to show emotion. Like, I have that struggle also, but I force it out. I don't know. It's just something I do. And
you were talking about don't let that fear control you, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's exactly what you were talking about. Is you got to push past that, whatever that is. It might not be fear, it might be anxiety, or like however you want to describe it.
Yeah, you gotta push past it, but it's like, why don't we show this emotion? Like, we need this sense of, you know, relationship between, like, our families, and then, like, I've had a really supportive family, but my dad and my grandfather, they weren't that close. There was, like, a barrier there where they didn't hug. You know, you have to be tough. You have to, you know, there's a certain way you're supposed to live as a man. You have to follow this man box, and I feel like that's, like, a big struggle in our communities. That always happens, and you see it a lot, and, like, between the older generations, that it's tough to show emotion, or if you go to, like, hug somebody and they're like, "Oh, what are you doing?" You know what I mean? It's
interesting.
It's like there's, like, that barrier there that we set, and, like, our own personal security, and that it's a barrier we're still trying to face and jump over.
You know what's so interesting about that, though? I said the disclaimer of I don't know what it's like because I didn't grow up in your community, but that is something we have very much in common. You know what I mean? The same relationship my father had with my grandfather is the same relationship your father had with his grandfather. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just cutthroat. It's business, and there's no vulnerability in men.
Yeah, they have trouble to show it, right? It's about breaking this box of masculinity and showing vulnerability, and that goes a long way. There's I did this thing at the LGBTQ conference this past week, and we were in this social media expression kind of like lesson or course that was
it
in.
like in what aspect?
Yeah, it was like to be able to, like, express yourself through stop motion animation, to make it more emotional, to make it more connecting, to make it have that driving force, right? But she asked us something at the end of the class to do as a group activity, and it was tell us about a time in your life. She made it go personal. She went deep, you know. She's like, tell us about a time in your life where you had to show vulnerability, or you had to show happiness, or you had to show an emotion. She didn't do this specifically. She said show an emotion. And I went at my table, I was like, oh, we're not going to do that.
It's scary, man. That's scary as fuck.
I didn't know. I know one person.
You're going to get up on the stage and the entire table's going to, like, look at you and yell, "Pussy!"
Yeah, lame. But, like, everyone at the table, there's, like, 7 of us there, and everyone at the table didn't want to do it. And I was like, oh, I was excited, you know, because I'm okay with this.
I'm gonna be the martyr here, boys.
I'm gonna try to cry. You know what I mean?
Lead by example. You're a natural leader.
And then I was sitting there, and I was like, they're like, we're not doing this. This is lame. Do we have to do it? And everyone was, like, so against it. And it downed on me, you know. And I was like, I don't want to do it no more. You know what I mean? I was like,
true. So,
but then she's like, write it down on paper, and I was like, sat there and looked down on my paper, and I started writing it down. You know what I mean? One time at a school, I did this. And I started explaining about a time when I was teaching in a class, and the class was dead. No one wanted to do it. And I was sitting there reading off the paper. It was like probably my second ever class teaching, and I'm not a teacher. I mean, I've never taught in my life. And I have this class of 30 kids that are just sitting there sleeping. You know what I mean? They're basically looking like zombies. It was like Monday. It was like a Monday morning, man. It was horrible to just, like, start a class. And I started telling, you know, I changed it up. I was like, I got everybody up. And every couple 30 seconds, I would count in my head. I'd be like, hey, everybody stand up and move to the seat to your left. And then they all looked at me and they were like, what? And I was like, when I tell you, do it. And then every 30 seconds we did it, and the kids started, you know, they started like their tone, everyone was like lightening up. Everyone was getting more happy. You know what I mean? They started getting engaging more, and they were waking up.
What made you think to move everybody to the left?
I don't know. I was getting bored. Like I was getting bored. I'm like, you know, violence. What is violence? You know what I mean? Like, what is aggression?
Yeah.
They were just not having it, and I was not having it because I couldn't do like that. And that was like my first step of changing how I teach.
Interesting.
And then I was like, okay, no. Then I was after like probably like 10 minutes of me moving kids. No one was sitting in the right seat at this time, right? And no one was focusing on what I was talking about. They were just focusing about when the hell am I gonna move again? You know what I mean? Like when's he gonna say it? And they were getting ready. They were getting fast too. And there was like
they get fast.
They were like, go, boom, and the kid jumped over his seat. You know, the kid fell at one point, but then. But at the end, you know what I mean? I was asking. I was like, okay, we're gonna go back, and I started asking them the questions I was asking them before. And they were answering me right on the dot. I mean, they were snapping, they were raising their hands. Everybody was active. I put them in groups, and they were talking in their groups. You know what I mean? And it was about the subject. I don't care if they were talking about something earlier. They were talking about a time where violence affected them, and they were engaged. And I was like, I did something that I changed the way I was teaching, and it
Jedi mind trick,
and it changed them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then while I was telling this story at the table, I was like, I didn't express my emotion. I wasn't like, I was happy, and that was the goal of the thing. I was like about trying to show an emotion without actually telling somebody and letting them notice it. And then the girl across me, she's like, that's really cool, because when she's like, I can't, like, I was just supposed to be confidential. She started expressing herself. She started expressing herself, and she's like, you know, I'm a house or a midwife, and she started telling us a story, and she was like, at first she was like, I'm not saying nothing, you know what I mean? Yeah. And she started expressing herself. She started telling the story. And then all of a sudden the girl beside me, she was like, yeah, that triggers me too, because I remember this time. And I was like, I triggered something. I was like, I got the ball rolling.
Yeah. Yo, that's leadership.
And all of a sudden everybody at the table was like, wow, look at us sharing. And then we all looked at each other, and they're like, we really shared. Everyone was sharing in it. And then it was like a really big like self-realization that one thing triggered a whole entire snowfall of
the dominoes, right?
Yeah, it was a domino effect.
One, and like you can change the entire mob mentality with just one person's actions.
Yeah, and like everyone was like thinking about it. We're like, wow, like why did that happen? Why did everyone just feel so comfortable of sharing? And I was thinking, like, because I showed my vulnerability. I showed that.
True.
I was able to express that, and it drove that confidence and drove them like, you know what? He did it. He's vulnerable right now. I want to make him feel comfortable. Is that sign of helping, and all of us being helpers at this conference.
Interesting.
And it showed the whole thing, and it was crazy.
Domino. And I was thinking, you were talking about showing a time of vulnerability. I was like, you could literally talk about that moment as it's happening.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? That's triggered another vulnerable moment.
Yeah, and it was like a really like life learning. Like if all of us were there, we're helpers in the field. And none of us, like, even then, as we're all helpers and we're working straight in the community, none of us wanted to share. None of them wanted to share. Yeah. But it just took one person, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. One person to take that leap.
And there's a lot of people who say, fuck, like, why do I need to, like, show vulnerability? Like, what is it? But think about the way you just described that and how clearly you were positively impacted by that moment of your vulnerability. Yeah. Right? Like, that gave you energy. We were talking about that. It gave you energy. Super interesting, bro. And I agree. We were just talking about it. It's like you guys, he said that you don't, like there's a loss of connectedness and a loss of vulnerability within, he said, male relationships, but also
any relationships in general, right?
I remember there's a period back in high school, it was the fucking bad time in Evan Stolpmann's life. But like, I remember thinking that I didn't say I love you to my mom because like it felt uncomfortable, and I was scared to do it because it was like I don't know what it was. It was just me being afraid of showing that side of me, and I don't know where that came from. But once that's over, it's over. And you taught me a lot, bro. 100%. It's like you taught me to. Whenever I'm around you, to both of you, right? Whenever I'm around you guys, you remind me to tell my friends I love them. You remind me to give my friends hug. You remind me to embrace the people in my life. So it's strange that you guys say you came from the same spot, but you came out as something else, something totally different that inspires your vulnerability, inspires me to be more of it's the same chain reaction of your vulnerability inspire other people's vulnerability too. And that's leadership, right? You're leading by example. It's powerful, man.
I just want to say Troy's the most like affectionate person you would ever meet.
Yeah, how did you become like this? Is this who instilled this in you, Troy?
I got a lot of love from my family, and in short, I mean, my mother's always been, like going back to that kind of disconnect from the past. I think my parents' generation and my mother's family, at least, they kind of strove to do better with showing emotions and showing that side of themselves, because the generation before that, like he was outlining, like they didn't really have that kind of interaction. So I think that was something they identified and realized needed to be improved upon. So growing up, that's what they had shown me. It was nothing but love, And I think that's what really came down to shaping me into who I am, is to just, show love, man.
Do you think it's some sort of like control mechanism? Like there's a societal pressure to not be connected together. You know what I mean? Like the societal pressure to not say I love you to another person because it's weird and uncomfortable. But once you break that barrier, there's a different level of communication between two of you. I'm just thinking about it. It's like kind of, and it goes on right now. Yeah, it's like you dehumanize in war. But I feel like we've dehumanized everybody. We're all dehumanized to each other because we can't even say I love you. We can't even like open up about our vulnerability with our friends, and we're even talking about our examples with our parents and our family, and these are supposed to be the closest people in your life. And I couldn't even like choke up the word I love you to my mother at one point in my life. Like that's sad to think about. And I think we're nomads in that sense. You know what I mean? I don't think there's a lot of people. It's like you said, we're becoming enlightened, but it's a hard topic to get past.
I think it comes down to just the way society is structured in a lot of ways. Man, this fucking society. But no, like really, when you think about it, what does society in the Western world praise? It praises a lot of individual ways of living. It's a very individualistic society, and by that, it might not necessarily have the goal of breaking down those bridges between one another, that affection. But in a lot of ways, it does, just like as a kind of byproduct. Because think about it, you're told your whole life you need to do this, and it's all on you. You're going to work hard, and you're going to reap the benefits. And then at the end of the day, you get those messages deeply instilled and ingrained into who you are and your psyche. And then next thing you know, you're not caring about that person beside you, because at the end of the day, what you were told is it's you. You. And you got
tunnel vision. But when it's told you, it becomes me or you. That's reflected out. It's told against you, but then it's reflected outside of you. So you're no longer focusing on how you feel. You're focusing on the external you. Who do you think you should be? And it's often painted in these pictures of some like Jeff Bezos or Donald Trump or like some bullshit of that's you're reflecting it outward instead of focusing on how you feel about this stuff. And it's you, it's not me. And that's what I was having a conversation with my mother about it, and it is very societal and it's very individual. But think about it: if we had this connectedness and this appreciation for people's company as much as we did, if it was as valued as much as this laptop was valued, things would change. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So, and that's why I think it's kind of a control system, because if we valued that as much as we value this, there's no economy. There's nobody making it's the selling the dream. It's the cycle of selling the dream. And as you're selling the dream, you lose that connection with other people, and we get fucking numb.
Yeah, like just like and almost any person you ever talk to, if you had told them either smash your phone, or would you rather smash your phone or tell your friend to leave? like leave your house. You know what I mean?
True. Yeah.
Like think about it. What would you really do? Like, would you?
I'm broke as shit, so both of you are at the same time, dog.
Yeah, exactly, man. Like you would rather tell your friend to leave to get get out of your house rather than smash your phone. You know what I mean? You have this connection to our phone, or you check your phone like like subconsciously like in the morning.
Yeah. This is also a very critical view on the individualistic society we have, because this same society has brought us so much progress for fucking technological progress, agricultural progress. It's all that sort of selfishness to do better for yourself kind of inadvertently bleeds into the rest of society. So we do benefit from it, maybe not on an interpersonal level, but just through the innovation.
And you're right bringing up the yin and yang, because it's a very important part of it. But once there needs to be balance within the yin and yang, the black and the white have to be the same size, or else if it starts drifting a little to one side, it very easily slips over the edge, and you no longer have balance. And I don't think we're taught balance. You're clearly teaching balance to these young kids in your community, and that's giving power to the yin and the yang, because it's not like you're saying don't do that. You're not projecting fear of either side. You're projecting understanding of either side. Wow, interesting, guys. I think we could wrap it up.
Yeah.
It's been a quality conversation.
It has been good. It's been a good time.
Yeah, 100%. It kind of you'll get the feeling once you take the headphones off, it's like a
what did I say?
Was anything too incriminating?
That's not at all what I meant, but it's like it's draining, man.
Oh, I bet, man.
Yeah,
there's a lot of things we're talking about today. It's like
it's an accelerated form of conversation. When have we ever just sat down and like fucking hash it out like that? Like it doesn't happen very often.
I don't know. We've had some pretty in-depth conversations. Like between us three, we've had some pretty serious conversations. You know what I mean? Yeah. But like in an everyday public, you don't.
No, exactly. But even after those conversations, without the mic and bullshit, it still is draining. You sit there and you have to like take time to process everything that was discussed.
It's mental stimulation.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't know, it'll be interesting to hear what people think about it, because I think it was a really interesting conversation.
Yeah, I'm excited for the comments. Like
I'm gonna share it into the stupid shit we find on the internet and let all your homies listen to it. They'll appreciate it, I'm sure.
I hope so.
Appreciate the last one 8 months ago, so there's time for it's crazy how that was 8 months ago.
Yeah, that's trippy.
Yeah, when did we meet each other, guys?
September of 2016.
I think.
2015, 2016, or no, it would have been
2016, 2017.
2017. True. Yeah.
No, it'd be 2015, 2016.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's
almost 3 years. It'd be 3 years this September.
Yeah, that's trippy. Man, time flies when you're having fun, eh, boys?
Time flies when you're having fun.
Hey.
Smoking pot.
Woo!
Don't condone drugs.
No,
and
drugs are bad.
Hio is.
I just get straight face whenever he says that.
Yeah, exactly. He's not part of that comment, all right? He's empowering youth. I'm just fucking around.
Yeah.
Any last words? We had so many quotables from you, bro. I can't wait to like go listen to that and like write those down.
Damn straight.
Anything you want to say?
I just want to say I love and appreciate you both, and I'm glad we're able to do this today.
Yeah, I appreciated this invite. This is a new experience for me, and it was really,
Well, you're an interesting guy, right? I think I knew it. I knew it would be extremely intriguing, and getting into the vulnerability stuff. You were even vulnerable on this mic talking about your vulnerability, and like that's something that I appreciate so much, because you can't ask someone to do that. You just got to do it, and that's why I wanted to share this with you. And I appreciate you coming, man. I very much appreciate it. I hopefully see you more often.
Yeah, definitely. I'm only a couple.
Hop in and skip away.
Yeah, for real. Once I got my car this summer.
Yeah.
Fucking A, yeah.
Road beers.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Like, totally kidding, man.
We don't do that.
Hio's face. Just totally slandering him.
Oh,
All right. Well, God bless and good night.
Yeah.
respect.
Love and appreciate you. Love and appreciate you.
Respect.
Appreciate your people.